Hi everyone, happy Saturday. So this is an update just for how I would like you to give me your examples and the explanation and how that makes you much more thorough, which equals a better grade in the course. You want to go for thoroughness. Please don't rush through your assignments giving me phrases rather than full sentences. If you have to go back to how they showed you in K through 12 where you restate the question, I prefer that rather than you giving me 1 to 3 words to answer a particular piece or criteria of an assignment. So let's look at the anatomy of an argument. I did go ahead and post all the grades for that assignment. If you feel that you should have got a better grade, please double check that you provided an explanation and an example. And I did go ahead and say that you can redo the assignment if you would like. I suggested that you redo it with a different source of yours. That way you make it much more beneficial rather than doing the same source over. So this student received a exemplary grade. So he received a 30 out of a 30. So let's look at his assignment and see what he did well. So the title of his source is Starting a Dialogue Against the Odds. A former college president takes aim at the 21 drinking age. So that is the title of the article. I read the article myself. Here's the actual article that he's referring to, and that indeed is the title. However, in a response paper, I would have been looking for him to actually capitalize the correct words that should be capitalized in the title. It's not so much of a big deal because even the article was published in that manner where certain words are not capitalized. Really, the first word is for this. The first word for this article is what's capitalized. So he's following the article, which, when push comes to shove, that is grammatically correct because that's the way they published it. So let's go back to his paper, his response assignment. The next thing that you were required to include is the full URL, which he did, and that's pretty self-explanatory. There's no comments that I need to provide on that for you. The next part is the source main idea. It said the point of the article. So he chose to do it as a explanation format, which is something that I was totally looking for. But at the same time, if you just rewrote the main idea that is from the actual article, then I did accept that. A main idea, I feel as though, doesn't need a full explanation, especially if you took it straight from the article. However, I always appreciate his thoroughness. And again, that reminds me that, or it lets me know that you understand the content completely. So he said the point of the article is to explain why the minimum legal drinking age, being 21, does not make too much sense considering it does not actually solve the drinking problems in young adults. Also, the article emphasizes on why it's important not to just lower the minimum legal drinking age, but also to teach young adults how to be responsible when consuming alcohol. So I actually read the article myself, and he pretty much did lay out what the main idea is. So for some of us, we would have probably did a 1 to 2 sentences saying that the minimum legal drinking age, being 21, does not eliminate drinking problems in young adults. It actually facilitates the lack of responsibility and consuming alcohol. That's a sentence that you could have provided, something like that. However, like I said, this does meet the requirement. He put the main idea into his own words. But if you did just put the main idea from the actual article, then that works as well. So the next part was the rhetorical appeals. I asked for an example for each. Now remember, from here on out, when I ask for an example, I would like for you to also provide an explanation. So he started with the ethos, credibility of the arguer and their sources. And he said, throughout the text, we can see a lot of references that give credibility to the author. The article includes the opinion of a former college president called John McCardle. So the article includes someone's experience with this problem instead of just being the analysis of statistics. This also helps with credibility. So think about it. This lets me know that he understands that the former college president can speak on this because he's an expert. He, day in and day out, was the president of a college where he may have probably experienced underage drinking. He had to have. The student furthermore goes on to say, although there are a lot of references included within the text, we can clearly evidence there's a typo right there. We can clearly evidence the use of credible sources in the following sentence. According to the Harvard School of Public Health College Alcohol Study that was published in the Journal of American College Health in 2002, 44% of college students were binge drinkers in 2001. This sentence does not only support the claim of why the MLDA being 21 does not make college students stop drinking, but it is also a study made by Harvard, which is recognized worldwide for its academic excellence. So, if you think about it, he actually provided 2 examples of ethos. However, he's going off the fact that one expert was the president of the college. Secondly, Harvard is a prestigious educational institution, so that works as well. But do you see the example and the explanation makes it more of a well-rounded, wholesome answer? So let's move on to pathos, the emotional aspects of the argument. Since the article includes direct quotes from John McCardle, some emotional aspects can be perceived in the text. One example of this is the following sentence, which includes a quote from McCardle. So here's the quote. "That's not very responsible parenting, and it's certainly not very responsible educational leadership," says McCardle, who served as president of the Vermont Liberal Arts College from 1991 to 2004. This quote is introduced into the text to explain why the MLDA being 21 is not appropriate, since it does not acknowledge the fact that alcohol is a reality in young 18 to 20 adults. If it is illegal for young adults under 21 to consume alcohol, and it is something that must remain hidden, parents cannot address the problem and guide their children through their first experiences with alcohol in plain sight. If they did, they would not be obeying the law, which sends a negative message to their children, which makes this bad parenting as well. This appeals to parents' emotions since they want to be good and help their children, but they also do not want to disregard the law while doing so. This makes the parents feel under pressure and consider lowering the MLDA a good idea, which is a great example of pathos. So do you see how he presented his answer, explained why he chose that as his answer? The next one is logos, facts and logic used by the arguer. The article does not mention a lot of statistics, numbers, studies, and facts, but it also keeps a good structure and it attaches those sources to support different statements related to the claim. For example, the effect of legally prohibiting alcohol use among 18 to 20-year-olds is that while it may eliminate underage drinking from visibility, it does not eliminate its presence. Then, this statement is proven by a survey published in the Journal of American College Health in 2004, which states that 81% of college administrators said students alcohol use was a major problem on their campus. Logos can also be anything that makes the reader think for themselves, and statements like this make the parents think about this issue and why the MLDA should be lowered, agreeing with the author's logic. So he did a few things here. He showed how they used facts, but he also showed how the facts tie in back to the main idea. And they, remember, you want to show versus tell. So they did that as well. But what I really like most about his answer is that it's the structure that he's touching upon. The article was structurally created to back up their claims. So the Toolman assessment or the Toolman method is actually being used here. The next part is the any logical fallacies section. And he said, I honestly do not consider there are any logical fallacies. Nothing is restated rather than proven. There are no inconsistencies in the statement, facts, relationships. There are no exaggerated clauses in effect, slippery slope, and the author does not stack the deck since they have a whole section that explains the opponent's arguments. Everything else is supported by statistics, facts, studies, and numbers. So that provides a little bit of the analysis that he did to strike out that there's any logical fallacies. Now, I didn't ask you to do so much of that, but again, this shows me that you're understanding the content, and by him going in using some of those logical fallacies that we talked about, it's also helping him reiterate the content. Basically, using the content is going to help you store the content permanently. Okay? The next part, the Toolman assessment. There he puts the claim. The author wants to convince people that the lowering the minimum legal age is a good idea since the current age leaves people with a dilemma and two unacceptable choices, according to John McCardle. Okay, so he summarizes what the author in the article basically believes. The next part, the article then explains and states that these choices acknowledge that alcohol is a reality in the lives of young adults, 18 to 20, despite what the law says, and creating a safe environment for that. And two, decide the law must be upheld and prohibit alcohol consumption at home and on campuses. The dilemma parents and college presidents are left with, young adults still drinking or binge drinking on campus in hidden spots. So I'm not going to go through the grounds part or the rebuttals. I think you by now will understand how he's giving me the example or the answer, but he's also providing explanation. He is not just simply putting first ground, second ground, third ground. He's using full sentences, which is something that I want you to do. Further on, if you look, his explanations, when he tells me whether he's agreeing, I did get a few students that just put yes or no. You left out the why and why not, which is actually a part of the question. Again, he's being thorough. I'm looking for you to be thorough and demonstrate that you understand the content. If you have questions, please let me know. I always offer to pre-read your assignments if you would like. If that's something that you're interested in, please let me know. Don't forget, there's office hours that you can schedule with me as well. Have a good rest of your weekend.